Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to today's edition of the Just Us Review. We like to take our favorite shows. They can be in the realm of superhero. Do we care if they're superhero?
Not really.
What about horror?
I don't care.
What about sci-fi?
I love sci-fi.
I love sci-fi too. We don't care. We just care about content. If we like it, we love it. If we hate it, god damn it, you gonna hear about it. And today's gonna be a special episode. I know I say that a lot, but Falcon and Winter Soldier just dropped on Disney Plus. I'm pretty sure all of us watched it on Disney Plus because we always watch responsibly.
You spell Disney D-I-Z-N-E-E-E, right?
I spelled.
We watch it the legal way, Jonathan.
I spelled
Disney.
Recorded,
Yeah.
Jonathan. The legal way, Jonathan.
Pirate. That's how you spell Disney. As I was saying, Falcon and Winter Soldier just dropped after the new line of Disney Plus shows catering to the MCU, and we're going to talk about it. WandaVision just ended. They gave us behind-the-scenes look, and now we're on to the next set. Of course, Loki is closely behind it. So, Falcon and Winter Soldiers. Let's go around the room and give first impressions.
This episode saddened me,
Okay,
but I also enjoyed it.
Christian?
It was fine. The first half was better than the second.
John?
I liked it.
Okay.
I missed something?
What I missed?
Proceed.
It started off really good, and I'll come back for more.
All right. Me, I'm going to reserve my judgment until the next episode. So, let's go across the table around the goods. Let's talk about the goods. I'll go first. My good is I loved the family aspect of Sam Wilson. We always see the engagement with the other Avengers, and most of the time they're larger than life. But it's nice to see it. It felt comfortable when Sam was talking with his family. I don't know who the lady who played his sister, but the chemistry there was amazing. But it was like, okay, I go out and spend my time saving the world. I'm around all these monsters, gods, even billionaires, but then I still have this spot at home that's still going through this difficult situation, and how compartmentalized Sam really is, where when he's at work, he's, doing a superhero bid, but then when he comes home, he's trying to find ways to help the family situation, without looking for handouts and stuff like that. So I thought that was an interesting play inside of Sam Wilson that we get to see, and a more in-depth look at the character, especially, it's like, hey, I have this big name around the world, but yet I'm still valued as this in the equation when it comes to, just being an actual person.
I liked some of that.
Okay.
But I'll get to what I didn't like about it in my bad. What I liked about what you were saying is, up until this show, Falcon always came off iffy to me because it seemed like everything out of his mouth was, I love Captain America so much.
Mm-hmm.
And that, to me, that seemed like that was the only time he ever had any real depth, and I'm glad they carried it over, was in Civil War when him and War Machine argued.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, it was really telling in, what's the one before Endgame? Infinity War. When Sam snapped, no one cared to look for him except for War Machine. Even Captain America wasn't checking for him. So when we get here, they made him a person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, he wasn't a person until now.
He was just a sidekick.
Exactly. Bucky was more of a person than he was. And they flesh out Bucky more too, but in my opinion, I'm gonna say some hot take, this just should have been a Falcon show.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Any more goods anybody wants to
I got some good.
Okay.
I'm glad that we are finally addressing some things that we didn't get in the last show, and they had the opportunity to do it, and they just fumbled the ball, and that is the trauma that a lot of different people went through when this snap happened, and how it affected people, and how their reactions are to that.
Any more goods?
I liked, what Jonathan was saying about how they fleshed out Bucky. I think you hit all my points on Sam. But because now that we see that Bucky hadn't had a real life since the 40s, and so he's been the Winter Soldier all this time, and then he was put to sleep, and then he was woken up again just to fight another war, and then he was snapped for 5 years, and then now he's back trying to live normally. And he mentioned that the only peace he had was when he was in Wakanda, and now he has this whole list of people that he's trying to make amends to, and we see how easy it is for him to right the wrongs he did with the bad people that are still here, but how difficult it is to do it with people whose lives he harmed.
Side note, I didn't see Tony Stark there on that list, but okay.
I mean,
Hey, Morgan. I killed your grandparents.
I'll kill Grammy and Pop Pop.
That's cool.
Love you 3,000.
That's cool, Mr. Cheeseburger.
I'll buy you all the cheeseburgers you want.
So another good
So
aspect.
horrible.
I got my turn.
Okay.
All right, that action, dope.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh
this,
hell
this,
yeah.
this took me back to Winter Soldier. Not just Winter Soldier's actual fighting, but even Falcon's fighting. That whole combat sequence. I'm glad it was in the beginning because it drew me in. And it was like a non-stop roller coaster until it stopped.
And I'm glad that you mentioned that because this was the first time, of course, that we seen, like, I saw Sam Wilson as a leading character in that moment. I was like, well, damn.
He's capable.
Yeah. I'm not afraid that he's going to that he needs backup. I'm not afraid that he's not like that he's gonna fail because when there was always that lingering thing like, okay, when is Cap gonna come in and save him? But now he seems like a capable standalone superhero, and I'm glad that they did that. Another thing that I'm glad for, and this is mixed in with a bad, so I'm gonna walk that line. I'm glad at what happened with the Shield at the end because it showed the consequence of Sam not taking up the mantle. It showed that was his fault. Because because Steve understood that Captain America was a symbol that should have been passed along and carried by someone, and he recognized Sam in that moment that you should take the mantle,
and that Sam is supposed to represent modern America.
Exactly, but Sam ran away from that, and what happened that Captain America's legacy gets transferred to a privatized corporate version of what Steve Rogers represented. And I saw that was a direct result because of what Sam Wilson ran from. And I think that was a positive because you see the look in Sam's face because he like, this is my fault.
So I'm going to highlight why else is a positive because it goes back to what I was saying about that last show. And the things that they were doing, or they should have been doing, that this show is doing now. Because if you notice, they are following a similar trail. The Avengers got their ass beat by Thanos, and we had to live with that for 5 years. And now that everything's back and there are barely any more Avengers, we need fucking heroes. So you got Sword over here making a new vision, and you have the government over here trying to bring out a new Captain America. It's a logical response to the shit that keeps happening.
Another good thing that I liked about the show, even though this is a bad thing, was when they went to the bank, and even though that he had notoriety as a hero, that still there was no outpour in trying to assist him. And that was a direct reflection of how we treat our veterans, how we give the lip service of, we love our heroes, salute the flag, salute our soldiers, we love them. But then when it comes to actually put our money where our mouth is, we find excuses not to actually assist them when it comes to something that requires monetary value.
I got a bad in that scene, but we'll wait till we get to the back.
Okay.
So jumping back real quick on what you was talking about when he gave up the shield, one of the other things you can see too is before Rhodey talks to him, you can look at Rhodey's face and some of the actions he's saying. And like there's this thing he does where he like kind of takes his hand and he does this. And we all know that's the sign for this nigga.
Exactly.
Like, we all know.
like Brody went out of his way, we like, just take the goddamn Like, fuck. I'm like Tony, I'm still gonna be rocking this suit.
Exactly.
I think because Rhodey is part of the government, he knows what they're gonna do with it, even though they played it off like, thank you for coming forward with the shield, and it's in the right place now. Like, they were just gonna have it on display the entire time, and Rhodey was like, no, don't do that, take it.
But another good thing and a bad thing at the same time, but it's good because it's bad, that the government's first intuition wasn't approaching Sam as the next person. That the face that they chose was trying to be identical to the old version. Like, you literally have somebody who fought side by side with Captain America this entire time, and the government's first inclination was, well, shit, why don't we just give it to Sam Wilson? If anybody else knows,
of course it wasn't gonna be.
But you know why. and that's the whole reality of the situation, and that's why I say it's a good part, even though it was negative.
If they thought they could have without causing controversy, they probably would have gave it to Bucky.
But the thing is, I'm like, it makes sense that they didn't, because he just got pardoned. So why would you give someone pardoned who's committed all these crimes, whether he was hypnotized? Is that hypnotized?
You mean
brainwashed?
You mean giving somebody a high position even though they're criminals? Yeah, why would we do that in America?
I'm just saying, it made sense on the show that they wouldn't do it. Real life, I don't know about that.
But if they're gonna follow the similar threads that are in the comic books with who this new Captain America is, they literally just did what the fuck he just said right there, because John Walker ain't shit.
I don't know who John Walker is. I believe
you good. You
I don't
need
like
to
him
know.
already. I believe you.
Yeah.
So
you wouldn't like him.
So, but are there any more goods?
Shout out to George St. Pierre for making a comeback.
Yes, GSP.
Although I thought it was
I'm
weird.
hoping he's gonna do some more fighting.
Yeah, I was gonna say I thought it was weird that
He's the leaper, right?
Yeah, Batroc the leaper didn't do much leaping.
He was in an airplane.
Maybe we could have got another villain.
but those kicks were solid. Bro.
Yeah, they were. I know we touched on this and we said it before, but I just liked all the War Machine stuff. I'm sorry, I'm waiting on that War Machine show.
Don.
I like Don Cheadle as War Machine. Terrence Howard was the wrong choice, and even though there was some fuckery behind how they took the role from him, I think it went in the perfect hands because Don Cheadle is a performer.
I'm gonna be real. I just thought that they would have thought War Machine would have been shaking too much in the machine. Hey,
and I do like that they kept that thread, and I know the reason why. I do like that they kept that thread of them being friends because they only touch on it in the movies, but then they bring it full force, and I think it's because a black man wrote this show.
So, with all the good aspects of this show, of course, we like to be even on here. We gotta talk about the bad parts. So, let's go across the room. What were some of the bad? Oh, sorry. What were some of the bad parts about the show that stuck out?
You can go first.
So, I don't totally dislike Bucky's therapy going on, but it slowed the show down. I like that they're doing it.
So here's the thing. So, it surprised me because I thought all the therapists were snapped out of existence. I would have thought there would have been one around in WandaVision. But I guess they couldn't find any. But to get to what he was saying, that second half dipped. as far as
honestly,
I understand what they were trying to do, but they should have balanced out because they had all the big high flying action and shit at the beginning,
which probably cost a But
fuck ton of money. But we keep jumping back and forth between
Bucky's relationship.
Bucky trying to get with this girl and Falcon arguing with his sister, and like the shit kept getting repetitive.
I'm gonna push back a little bit on both of you guys. I think the action was there. The first 15 minutes, of course, blew the doors off. And honestly, I think we needed this storytelling portion so that we can kind of figure out what was going on. I'm glad to see the Bucky side, because Bucky honestly was never himself until after the war. He never got, like you said, he never got to process the fact that he was fighting in World War II. He never got to fight the fact that he was a captive. He never got the fact that he was tortured. And all that stuff that he did, even though he committed murder under duress, he still has to process those emotions. And I thought it was an amazing turnabout where he ends up, the old guy that he's communicating with and everything, and then later the reveal that it's the son of a kid, that it's the dad of a kid he murdered while he was under this Hydra spell. I thought that was deep. And how do you convey that to a father, that I'm the reason why your son isn't here. I'm the reason that, you're going through all this stuff now by yourself. And to wear that burden where technically it's not even your fault. Nobody will even fault you for doing this because you weren't behind the wheel. Well, Tony Stark is a punk ass. and with the
according to Cyclops, he a bitch. But I'm gonna push back on your pushback just a little bit, because that would be awesome in a Winter Soldier show.
Well, see, I didn't have a problem with it because the way I
don't have a problem with it. It just slowed the show down.
Okay, can I finish?
Maybe. All right, and then after that.
Okay, so pushing back on the bads, I don't think it slowed the show down. I think it was just showing, what they did, what they were getting up to when they were snapped back into existence. Sam's like, okay, my sister's fine, my nephews are fine, I'm gonna get back to work. So that's what he did. He jumped straight back into action, but Bucky wasn't able to do that. Why? Because he's just gotten pardoned, so he's supposed to be living life as a civilian. And so seeing him in like the therapy and stuff, I thought it was good for the show. But my bad is still with Sam, because yes, you've been gone for 5 years, but your sister's been here, your nephews have been here, and it's like you've been gaslighting them about their financial troubles for the entire episode, is what I was getting.
So
wait.
That segues into my bad about that situation.
Let me piggyback off that for a second. One retroactive good about that is this show is actually showing the impact of the snap on the small business.
Yeah, I said all of that. Yeah, I said that.
You weren't listening?
I was.
Yeah, like we never get to see. I know this is a review of Falcon and Winter Soldier, but I have to bring up WandaVision because
no, in a sense it makes sense.
Like in WandaVision, and had they continued with this thread and fleshed it out with Hayward, then it would have made for a better story. But this motherfucker has PTSD.
Well,
he was traumatized by what happened during those 5 years when everybody was snapped, because he had to go through that. And they speak of it as if it's a legend, and we'll never find that out unless they do a show in which they show that what happens. But in Falcon and Winter Soldier, they are acknowledging this shit instead of just saying, oh, well, you want to do this and you're a villain because of that. Fuck your trauma. It's all about this person's trauma.
And we also catch a glimpse inside the Black experience, too.
So, going off of what you said, my bad about all that is, that's so fucking cliche with the whole, well, you were gone, you don't get to come back and try to fix things because you weren't here. Come on, they do it so much.
Wait, let me push, go ahead.
They do it so much.
I'm pushing back on that because in this situation, she's been trying to keep the business afloat as much as she could. But now she's settled with the fact, okay, I have to sell the boat and we just have to try to make do off of that. I've tried to go into the banks and everyone. I've tried to get in loans and I've been denied for everything. So she's now made peace with the fact that, this is how it has to be. This is the route that she has to take in order to keep them
And
surviving.
then Sam comes in and just imposes his will on her.
Yeah,
and
he's
that's
just like, it's half mine, and da da da. She was
Yeah.
like, well, I was the one dealing with it for almost half a decade.
And
Actually, it was longer than that because she even mentioned, Sam, you ran away to the military.
And that's where I'm getting at. That's my fucking issue. And I mostly see it with black centric stories. Everybody's mad at the one dude or woman that left. And it's like, it's like everybody because they did it in Lovecraft Country. And it's like they want to punish that person for wanting to be more than what he was.
No, let me push back on that. There's nothing wrong, cause she even said this. You went out to go save the world, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
You were doing this, but while he was gone, she was literally holding it down, making the payments, doing what needs to be done. Now you gonna tell me in the 11th hour you're gonna come back and tell her how to run it?
So here's my thing: had he never came back, he probably would have been blamed if something would have happened.
No,
they do this all the time on
but the
shows
thing is,
like
I
that.
didn't see it as her blaming him. I saw it as her,
She resented him.
She resented him
because every time
She resented him because he came back and tried to impose what he wanted instead of just accepting her decision.
Exactly. She knew him running off to the military. She said it was fine because, he's a hero. He's out saving lives. He does what he does. She knew that he was gone for 5 years. It wasn't his fault because loads of people, half the planet was gone for 5 years. But when he came back and then he was like, well, I'm not giving up. She's like, this is the situation we're in. I've tried everything else. Why are you trying to fight me on this one thing?
Because I'm gonna put this in there too. On your sound. I'm gonna put this in here too. Where the fuck was all of that energy in the Winter Soldier movie? Because he showed
live in Louisiana,
but he could have went back anytime he wanted. But like literally his job was he was a therapist for veterans and shit like that. He didn't have to do that.
He wasn't in service at that time.
And he chose to follow Steve. And on top of that, you know how disrespectful it is for her to be running the family business all this time, do everything she can, and him to pop up at the last minute like, well, you doing it wrong because we can do it this way. And she's like, I literally went through every route. Well, you didn't do it because you didn't do it with an Avenger.
You didn't have me, and I'm like, you're D-list at best.
And then wait.
He is.
And as soon as they went to the bank, he thought his notoriety would get him the clearance that they needed, and they were like, nah.
But that's the whole point I'm making. That was the story y'all went with. That's my whole point. They didn't have to make that. Because I thought it was weird that he was from Louisiana in the first damn place. Because I'm like, this motherfucker was in D.C. when we met him. But they had to do that. So that's so cliche to me.
I mean, you're not wrong.
We see that all the time.
You're not wrong for feeling that way. But at the same time, they probably went with that story because it's relatable. And it's still happening.
Yeah.
So I have a bad in relation to that. The banker dude, like his actions were totally over the top. Like that whole thing was totally overplayed, and I'm like, motherfucker, you should have got fired off of it. Like seriously, like. Come on now. He's doing all of this with the camera. And I'm like, you see these motherfuckers are struggling and you gonna ask him for an autograph? Like, I should have slapped the shit out of you and I'm watching this shit.
Well, only reason why I'm cool with that because I was like, the level of disrespect, especially people in that position, knows no bounds.
I get it, but like, for me, it was Hayward all over again. It was like we need him to be as irrational of a white man as he can be. So while this thing usually would have been played at a 6, turn it up to a 10. And I'm like, get the fuck out of here.
So are there any more bads that we want to go into?
Whoever that dude is that is tagging along with Sam. He's
okay.
He's annoying.
Marvel lore time, comic book time.
I wanted to wait because I wanted to get into speculations and lore.
I'm sorry, but I got another bad.
how many times are we going to not let Bucky move on? Because I feel like the shit that they're talking about here, I feel like they should have, in other words, like, leave him alone. Like, how many times do they have to remind him that, oh, you kill people because you're under my control?
Listen, pushing back on that, I don't really think they had the space to let him actually deal with it, because Winter Soldier, he was brainwashed for almost the entire movie, and then there was a whole bunch of action at the end. Civil War, it was mostly action, and he was getting most of his memory back. Infinity War, he just got back, he just woke up, so there wasn't any space. And Endgame, he just came back from being blipped, so there wasn't any space.
Shouldn't he have gotten some, like, not therapy, but like he said he was at peace in Wakanda. So
yeah, because there was absolutely calm, and at first he was on ice, and then they woke him up, they gave him a new arm, and he was just living. Yeah, he didn't have to do anything, he was just...
I don't think there's a clock on when your PTSD is over.
So it's not about that. What I'm like is, like, everybody else around him has to remind him of that. Like I said, like you just said before, like when he was in Wakanda, like everything was cool. Like, why couldn't we get that with him? Why do we have to keep reminding him that he was a bad person out of his own control?
Well, you're talking about the advent of Western medicine too. Like with therapy, they teach you're trying to address the issue so you can get past it. Sorry, go ahead.
Because in Wakanda, it wasn't therapy. They were trying to mend his broken mind. So that's what they were doing in Wakanda. So they weren't really caring to his emotional needs, and he was just, basking in the ambience of all of it. But then when he gets back to America and he's actually talking out his problems with somebody, he has to deal with those things like in a functional way. Mm-hmm. And there's going to be some struggles and issues with doing that.
Mm-hmm. And could he just actually go back to Wakanda?
That's what I was thinking.
I was gonna say it sounds like Bucky need to go back to Wakanda, but I'm pretty sure at the gate they're gonna be like, no.
I just feel like from the aspect of the character, I'm like, leave him alone.
So here's the thing.
Let him be great. Is what I'm saying.
I can feel you, but at the same time, Bucky chose to move to an area and hang out with the father of the guy that he killed. He chose that.
Because he has to,
he's Catholic.
I believe, the way I saw it is that he first was just trying to make amends, but then, it's somebody who's closer in age to him, and so he's connecting with them on a friendship level, which makes it even harder to make those amends, because now he's built a bond with this person.
I think they might have actually fought during the war.
That's what I initially thought, that was an old war buddy of his. But, and I see what you're saying. And that whole list he had where it was like, go make amends with people, that works when it's someone that's like, hey, I stole something from you in 5th grade. But like, he going around talking to people who he murdered their family. And he put
what amending did he do with the old guy?
No, that would be like, addressing them and like apologizing. Mm-hmm. That's what I'm seeing in my mind, because I think those are just like standard like therapy things. When you've wronged somebody, you have to go to those people and, apologize for what you've done. Like we see it like all the time in TV, like, hey, I was talking to my therapist and this is something I did when I was such and such age, and I really apologize for the way this thing affected you. Mm-hmm. And so they just tried to do that, but his scale is like,
yeah.
And so he's like, yeah, I'm trying, but it's difficult.
Yeah.
Okay, now with all that being said,
I got one more flight. It has to be mentioned because
please, okay, come on, because we got a whole Snyder cut thing to shoot.
The new U.S. agent outfit looks horrible.
Okay, great. I'm glad that needed to be said.
Because it needed to be said.
Sure it did. All right, now before we conclude, we got to get into this lore and the comic book references. John, kick us off.
Joaquin. Okay. In the comics, Joaquin will become the Falcon. When in the comics, when Sam becomes Captain America, he runs into Joaquin, who's a teenager in the comics, and he's being experimented on, and he basically becomes a half Falcon, half man type person. Yeah, there was some genetic. They were because they were doing some shit where they were basically it was a storyline about the border and you know building a wall and stuff like that, and they had kidnapped a whole bunch of Mexicans and stuff like that, and they experimented on him, and basically he got wings and shit grown out of his arms. He's a half bird man. And he becomes the new Falcon. Of course, now in the comics, Sam is Falcon again, and he's just the other Falcon.
So who is the guy with the mask? The meta.
The organization, the Flag Smashers. In the comics, there's one Flag Smasher, but he does have a group that he hires to help him do stuff. So what's going on here is in the show they're like, we're just gonna make them all the Flag Smashers. But the girl with the freckles, she's taking on, her character is a gender bent version of the original Flag Smasher. So she is the main Flag Smasher in the show. But it's just everybody else is an organization. It's part of, since the Flag Smashers is an organization, it's made up of a bunch of people. But she's, I guess, going to be the leader because she's playing a gender bent version of the main Flag Smasher from the comics.
How do you smash a flag?
Because the whole point of Flag Smasher is in the comics, he's a revolutionary that doesn't believe in borders and stuff like that, and it borders on terrorism.
I was being facetious when I asked that question.
Well, it needed to be said because it plays into how they work on the show because. And I actually forgot to put this in my good. I like the coda of the Flag Smashers that they liked everything before the snap because that's some straight flat earther bullshit. they come off as flat earthers to me in this.
They liked everything before this.
They liked
after
everything after the snap.
Okay, gotcha.
They think it was better during the snap years.
Hey, you know, Thanos did nothing wrong.
They're those types people.
So, was that it?
There was other stuff, but it's things that I think that I know is gonna come up in further episodes, so it's probably not worth mentioning now.
Everybody already saying X-Men's are coming.
It's not happening.
Oh yeah, Sentinels are right around the corner. So as you guys can see, this
When's Doctor Strange showing up?
episode 3. As you got,
Like, y'all seen Wanda? Y'all see that red shit?
We are going to get another superhero.
I don't care.
Sorts.
I do not care.
As you guys can see, that this was a very strong opening into the series. Actually, as you can see across the board, it was some very likable moments in this first episode, and we hope that they continue the trend and give us a great series. There's a lot of speculation going on with where this is going to go, but so far we like where it's going. Thank you guys for joining us for this episode. Like and subscribe. But until next time,
We don't like the new Captain America.
No, we don't.
As a matter of fact, theory time, I think he's Mephisto.
Side note, I'm waiting for the double team between Falcon and Bucky when they whoop his ass with the shield. All right. Peace.